Good morning. We are going to take you to GIPC's event that's happening at the Kempinski Hotel right now. The president is going to be addressing the gathering there. The idea behind this particular event is basically, of course, it's called Spark Up 2021. And the idea behind this event is to bring together all the players that are involved in the FDI, foreign direct investment ecosystem, and have conversations about what is happening as far as Ghana's foreign direct investments are concerned, and looking at maximizing the potential in the investment space as far as Ghana is concerned. Let's go over to the Kempinski Hotel, Gold Coast City, Accra right now.
Thank you very much. As you may be aware, we are in COVID times, and so the team has put together a quick video just to remind everybody of the protocols to observe. We'll do that shortly. Thank you.
Of everyone, kindly take note of these protocols. Nose masks are to be worn at all times during the event, either inside this auditorium or outside. The only time you may take off your nose mask is when you are talking on the stage and during coffee breaks only. Seating inside the auditorium is spaced 1 meter apart to observe social distancing. Please maintain this arrangement by not shifting your seat closer to the next person. If you go out of this auditorium at any time during the event, please sanitize your hands at the sanitization stations before returning to your seat. At the end of the event, please do not exit at the same time to ensure social distancing. Ushers would direct you to exit one after the other. During networking sessions, please stand 1 meter apart to ensure social distancing. Avoid handshakes, hugs, or close contact with other guests. Please adhere to these protocols at all times during the event to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
At this point, I'd kindly like to indicate all protocols observed. We're here for an important conversation and engagement about government. I'll call on the Minister for Information, Honorable Kojo Ponkroma, to give us the welcome address.
Mr. President, good morning and welcome. You are here this morning in the company of the Minister of State for the Ministry of Finance, the Honorable Charles Edubuahin, the Deputy Minister for Trade, the Honorable Herbert Krapper, Deputy Minister for Finance, the Honorable Abena Osei-Asare, Chief Executive of the GIPC, Mr. Yofi Grant. Captains of industry and thousands of Ghanaians have also joined us online and on media platforms for this morning's engagement. Mr. President, you only returned last night from your tours in the Western and Western North regions, and you are billed to continue to the OT and Volta regions later this week. But you are here this morning as part of your work around the clock to ensure that your administration's social contract with the people of Ghana is fulfilled, but even more importantly, that the Ghanaian economy recovers quickly from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, so that the jobs, the incomes, the improvement in quality of lives, which you started generating in the first term, will continue in the second term. One of the major instruments that you have championed since 2017 is attracting investments into the Ghanaian economy to take advantage of the significantly improved macroeconomic environment. Because you believe that when private capital is planted on fertile, favorable economic land, the harvest will abound. You instructed us, Mr. President, at the Ministry of Information to continue with efforts to keep the Ghanaian and international public informed of and involved in the efforts that you are making in stimulating a quick and broad-based recovery after COVID. It is pursuant to your instructions and your vision that we have brought together today the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for leading the efforts to create the enabling environment, the Ministry of Trade, which plays a key role in generating investor interest and setting policy direction for investments, and the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, which takes the lead role in pulling in investment into the Ghanaian economy. Mr. President, we've also brought together scores of investors and potential investors, some of who have already successfully set up and are operating in Ghana, some of who are also yet to settle. Key at today's gathering are also the public institutions and other stakeholders who are responsible for facilitating the onboarding of these FDIs. The speed and convenience with which they pay particular attention to the services that they offer investors go a long way to determine how quickly these investments can be onboarded so that the jobs, the growth, and the development we expect can unfold. After this opening ceremony this morning, there are two panel discussions. The first will help us update the whole country on the status of the nearly $2.7 billion of investment that your administration, yourself personally, your ministers and agencies brought into Ghana in the year 2020. The investors themselves will share with us their own experiences and give feedback on how we can quicken the onboarding process. The public agencies will also join us for a second panel discussion to share their experiences and provide guidance on how other stakeholders can support so that we quickly and successfully onboard the many investors knocking on our doors. On behalf of the GIPC, the Ministries of Finance, Trade and Information, ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you are all welcome.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Information, Kojo Opon Nkrumah. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, right now, let's turn our attention to Ghana's FDI trends, the outlook for 2021 and beyond. Let's invite the CEO of the GIPC, Mr. Yofi Grant, for this presentation.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Honorable Minister of Communications and MP for my very good friend Kojo Opon Nkrumah, Minister of State for Finance Charles Adu Boahen, Deputy Minister of Finance Abnao Selsari, and my very good friend Deputy Minister of Trade Herbert Krapa. The Honorable Stephanie Sullivan, Ambassador of the U.S., and all representatives of the foreign missions in Ghana, and my brother, Michael of the Ghana Free Zones, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The Ghana story, I must say, is a very compelling story, and has become even more compelling and attractive since 2017. When His Excellency the President took over. And through fiscal consolidation, significant reforms of the economy, better management of the public debt, and a yearning desire to transform the economy into a modern economy, implemented plans and objectives that set us on the path of recovery, but not just recovery, but growth. The GIPC is an office under the presidency, and so we are having this event really under the auspices of the presidency to show what we've done, the stewardship that we've done, and the way forward, and to embrace and engage all to really bring fruit to Ghana's centrality in Africa's desire to move away from a continent that imports all products from its own exports of raw materials and resources, that is converting our economies into productivity and value added. But we'll focus on Ghana for today. And there are 10 reasons why most investors will look at Ghana. First of all, I dare say that Ghana is in the center of the world. It's the only country on latitude 0 and longitude 0, and therefore logistically very well placed. But not just that. Ghana has had a pedigree of leadership on the African continent. From 1957, when it spearheaded the political emancipation of the continent. And today, Ghana is repositioning once again to spearhead the leadership of the African continent and joining it to the global financial sector and bringing about wealth creation on the continent, thereby bringing African financial and economic emancipation. There are 10 reasons why I think that Ghana will remain interesting. The first one is that we have an enviable democratic governance and political stability, which is key for every investor, and we have demonstrated that. We've been able to develop a strong and resilient economy. And from 2017, for 3 years, Ghana's economy grew at an average rate of 7%, one of the leading economic growths on the world, not just the continent. And even in 2020, when the region showed deep recession of minus 3.3%, Ghana's economy still grew positively at 0.4%. And Ghana, along with South Korea, have been pointed out as the two countries that have shown great preparedness in managing the COVID pandemic. But we are still in the pandemic, it's not over, and so we still keep our fingers crossed and work hard to do that. Additionally, we have a human capital advantage on the continent, and recent policies of the free senior high school will reposition Ghana as a major supplier of labor, and we're also equipping our young people to be able to take on the challenge of an economy in transition. We also have better trade logistics and infrastructure, and quite recently, the Tema port has been expanded to be potentially the largest port in Africa, to be able to do 3.7 million TEUs of cargo. We have vast and diverse natural resource endowment, and Ghana has almost any mineral that is in demand today: gold, diamond, timber, bauxite, manganese, lithium, iron ore, oil and gas, and many other ornamental minerals, and particularly lithium, which is very much required for the new economy of Industry 4.0, moving on to Industry 5.0. We are also a member of the regional international trade bodies, as a partner in WTO and having leadership of ECOWAS. We are very well positioned to negotiate many contracts, and we have significant contracts signed, bilateral investment treaties, and double taxation treaties with many of our partners. And of course, Ghana's great hospitality is undoubted. And I see many faces here that I know are not originally Ghanaian, and it's that hospitality that has brought you here. We thank you for staying and being with us. But even more importantly is our yearning desire to continuously and increasingly improve the ease of doing business. And we have had significant reforms, both at the trade level and at the investment level, to ensure that as we go into the future, Ghana becomes one of the best places to do business, not only in West Africa, but in Africa, and also one of the most attractive places to invest. And then, of course, that has led to a very enabling and competitive business environment, one which we are very proud of. And last but not the least, as I mentioned, and as mentioned it first, a favorable geographical location to facilitate the easy access to the world. And indeed, from Ghana, you are only 8 hours away from almost all the major regions of the world. So yes, we have all these endowments, but these endowments could not have put us where we are without the instructive and firm and strong leadership of His Excellency the President, who has declared that Ghana should be the best place to do business on the continent and the most attractive place to invest on the continent. And it's for that reason that we are seeing that Ghana is host to the headquarters of the AFCFTA and will spearhead the African economic and financial emancipation that I did mention before. So what has that earned us? And I will talk about this on the perspective of what has happened in the world. And even prior to COVID, Global political disruptions led to a shrinking of foreign direct investment and a disruption in the flows of foreign direct investment between 2018 and 2019. The event of Brexit was a major factor. The trade wars between the US and China was another factor. And the fact that the US also started looking inward to try and shore up business and trade was very important in stemming the flow of FDI globally, to the extent that UNCTAD and the WTO started making early predictions of the narrowing down of foreign direct investment globally. And then by 2020, the pandemic really hit. And it caused two major problems. One, the cost of lives, and two, the cost of livelihoods. But practically, it ended up in a major disruption of trade and business globally. Supply chains got cut. Countries had to implement quarantines that actually disrupted businesses. And I don't need to emphasize that because you all know, because you are business people. But that also led to a great impact on the financial sector. It's estimated that some $10 trillion of value was lost in the global financial markets due to the disruptions of the global trade system. Now, that was all money that could have been used for foreign direct investment. So consequently, UNCTAD actually predicted that global flows would shrink by 42% in 2020. And if we didn't have a grip on the pandemic, it would further shrink by an additional 15%. And Africa was probably going to be the biggest victim. But God being so good, and through our own initiatives, we've seen that it didn't happen quite as much as that. Africa, as I saw in a video this morning, still has shown quite some resilience to the virus compared to other regions in the world. But we do not take that for granted. And even during that period, Ghana showed strong leadership that also invoked some confidence in investors that were looking at places to invest. And Ghana was one of such places. I must say that the sort of investments we got, the productive types of investments, most of them greenfield in industrial infrastructure projects in developing countries, suffered immensely. And we all know what has happened. And since then, we haven't recovered. As you all well know, global shipping has increased in cost by close to about 40%, further straining global trade. But many other countries have also suffered inordinately from the shrinkage of FDI. As you see from the third box there, African economies have seen a 16% fall in FDI, but have weathered the storm better than others, as I've said. And therefore, we are all in recovery mode and looking forward to improving our conditions to try and ginger back FDI globally. But amidst all this pandemic, and Ghana at the beginning of 2020, we were quite optimistic in the first quarter of the year that we would see some impressive numbers, because FDI in the first quarter of 2020 had increased about 400% of what it was the previous year. And then, of course, COVID hit. But despite that, we were able to achieve FDI values of $2.650 billion, which by all standards were impressive. If you take what happened globally, where there was a 42% drop in FDI and a further 15% expected in the year 2021. Now, this figure of 2.65 billion represented a percentage increase of 140% compared to the 1.1 billion that we achieved in 2019, when global FDI actually saw a downturn. Out of this, we saw a registration of 279 projects, comprising 129 new projects in various sectors, 131 upstream projects in the oil and gas sector, and 19 projects in the free zones activities. Now, out of these 279 projects, the services sector registered the most, with 184 projects, followed by manufacturing, 57, And I do declare that I would have wished that it was manufacturing that showed the 184. And then export trading, 15 projects, general trading, 10 projects, and then the rest, building and construction, 5 projects. Mining also showed 3 major projects, petroleum, 3 projects, and disappointingly, agriculture, 1 project, and liaison offices, 1 project. In terms of FDI value, manufacturing, however, recorded the largest value of $1.27 billion, followed by services of $656 billion, mining of 424 million, petroleum 222 million, and the details are indicated in the graph below that you can see. If you look at it in terms of the amounts and the sectors, that's where the breakdown is. Now, in terms of regional distribution, January to December, unfortunately, Greater Accra seems to be attracting the most of the projects that were registered, or the FDI. And as I did mention, in terms of numbers, services recorded 184 projects, most of them in Greater Accra. 8 regions directly benefited from 279 projects. 231 projects, representing 82.8% of the projects registered, are in the Greater Accra region. That means that at the GIPC, we need to work harder into diversifying this and making the rest of the country even more attractive. And I dare say that the rest of the country is equally or perhaps even more attractive as destinations of foreign direct investment. The 3 other regions that showed some promise are the Western and Ashanti regions with 31 and 7 projects respectively. Volta and Eastern region recorded 3 projects, and Brong-Ahafo recorded 2, the Central and Upper East recorded 1 project each. This we expect to generate employment of 27,110 jobs, when these are registered and are at full capacity. Now, 22,382 of these projected jobs, that's 95% of it, are jobs that will be exclusively for Ghanaians, whilst the remaining 1,064, 4.54, are expected by non-Ghanaians per GIPC's records. I must make a note here that our records are telling us that even when foreign direct investors come in, within a year, they prefer to have Ghanaian workers take over the jobs that were probably taken by expatriates. 1, because it's cheaper for them, and 2, because they realize that the Ghanaian partnerships enables them negotiate the nuances of the market much, much better. And so it tells us once we attract more FDI, we're in a good place in job creation. The leading sources of investment by nations, China brought in 751 million, the United Kingdom 243 million, South Africa brought in 242 million, Australia brought in 239 million, and the Netherlands brought in FDI of 238 million. I am convinced, and I believe that we are going to see some significant investments from the US of A, and that is why we have the ambassador here today. So thank you for coming, and we look forward to our partnership. I would also like to just give a snapshot of what we've seen in 2021 that makes us very confident that we are on a good track, and with a great job that the president is doing, traveling around, marketing Ghana, I believe that we should up our game and achieve the targets that we have. As at the middle of the year, despite the weak predictions by the UNCTAD, we are seeing some very interesting numbers. In the first half, a total of 122 projects, that is 94 new projects and 28 upstream existing projects, have brought in FDI of $829 million. Now, this gives a 32.15% increase of what we saw in the first half of 2020, which was $627 million. Now, out of these 122 projects, services once again came out on top with 63 projects, and followed by manufacturing with 24 projects. General trading, building, and construction followed with 18 and 6 projects respectively. The oil and gas sector, as well as export trade, recorded 5 projects each, and agriculture sector recorded 1 project. I must say that we've seen a bit of challenge in the oil and gas sector since the price dropped in 2019. But we are seeing some recovery, and we believe that that should become more significant. Incidentally, we are also seeing a lot more interest in the agri sector over the quarter, and much more engagement and requests, and we believe that will translate to higher FDI numbers and figures for agri by the end of year. The services sector numbers was 597 million, followed by manufacturing with 98.7 million, general trading 41 million, and 22 million for building and construction. These details you'll find in these graphs as shown here. In terms of regional distribution of projects, 9 regions actually attracted these 122 projects out of the 16 regions we have. Now, 96 projects representing 78% of the projects registered are once again in Greater Accra region. The other regions are Ashanti and Western with 8 and 9 projects respectively, and Bono Central and Eastern region with 2 projects each. Hafu North and Upper West region with the half-year figures is expected to generate employment of some 8,931 jobs directly. Now, the numbers of jobs we show are direct jobs. And we expect that out of that, 8,091 will be for Ghanaians, while the remaining 840 will be for non-Ghanaians as per our records. This is how we see the employment generation per registered projects. But I must say that beyond the direct job creation, there's also indirect job creations. And so many of these are going to create jobs indirectly, which we don't measure. Leading sources of investment recorded January to June. Singapore brought in 307 million with 2 projects. Australia 204 with 2 projects. India 61.57 with 9 projects. Netherlands 46.8 with 2 projects. The US of A with 32 million with 6 projects, and China 32.46 million with 24 projects. So there you go. I told you the US would up their game and look at Ghana more attractively now. These just show the graphical representation of the numbers I just mentioned. So what's the outlook post-COVID and with the advent of the AFCFTA? Global predictions are that global FDI is expected to bottom out in the year 2021 and recover some lost ground going to 2022, increasing between 10 to 15% globally and 5% in Africa. This should be realized with efficient policy interventions to facilitate investments and to navigate the economic effects of the pandemic. And I dare say that in the course of the pandemic, Ghana did also do its bit in finding ways to mitigate the cost of lives and livelihoods by implementing what we call the Ghana Cares Obatampa project. The Ghana Cares project being the COVID alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support project. It's a 3-year project that is expected to cost 100 billion cedis, of which government is going to provide 30 billion, and the private sector, driven by foreign direct investment and partnerships and led by GIPC, will bring in $70 billion. Now, the priority areas under the Ghana Cares program and for GIPC in this regard are agriculture and agro-processing, import substitution and animal husbandry, manufacturing, natural resource value optimization, that is value addition to our natural resources, a technology hub and industrial assemblies, and we are right on track on actually establishing 1 industrial zone per each of the 16 regions in a number of economies. Then, of course, healthcare services and pharmaceutical manufacturing, and infrastructure, improvement of the roads and the highways, railways, power bridges, etc., and we are still on track to achieve the 4,000 kilometers of new rail lines that the government indicated in 2017 that it was going to start construction, and over the 10,000 kilometers of new roads to ensure that every corner of Ghana is connected as we industrialize under the policy of one district, one factory, and are able to move the market beyond the centers and the urban areas to every side of the country and into the West African sub-region. Now, of course, services. And in services, we are looking at expanding the fintech area and making Ghana really technology-driven, and actually making the main route of engagement between the citizenry and government technology. And in that regard, that now we have almost everybody in Ghana biometrically registered, as well as every square inch in Ghana digitally registered. Every 5 by 5 meters squared in Ghana now has a digital address. This is going to enable us to separate ownership from usage of land and optimize and monetize our land for better development. I dare say that for all of us here, the architect of this whole ecosystem and architecture of transformation of the economy lies with our leader, the president. And I think that, Mr. President, thank you for giving us the opportunity to put Ghana on a real pedestal of transformation. And the numbers that are here do give an indication that we are on track. Beyond this, increasing FDI in the medium and the long term requires some swift, articulate actions with the policymakers to review, revise, and revamp FDI strategies to make them more fit for purpose, modernized, and operationalized policy measures to support value chain-linked FDI and boost FDI in the digital economy. Indeed, the President has time and time again said that our economy must be driven by private sector. And as a co-chair of the group of eminent persons for the achievement of the SDGs, we embraced the SDGs, and Ghana was the first country in the world to actually benchmark its budget to the SDGs. And I must say that the 2 SDGs that are the impetus for the work we do at GIPC is SDG 1 of poverty alleviation and SDG 17, partnerships and linkages, and then facilitating investment for trade. But I must say that in between 1 and 17, there's a major effort to ensure that we bring true transformation, job creation to Ghana by ensuring that each of those 15 SDGs get the requisite attention. And that is what is going to transform our economy. At the center, we are working with some of the, should I say, the development finance institutions and some of the donor partners to ensure that we really create a global standard and be compared to any other country in the world. And some of our partners are the World Bank, the GIZ, EU, UNIDO, and to help us strengthen the institution to deliver on the mandate and become extremely competitive among its peers. But at the GIPC itself, we've also restructured. We've recently set up a new, 2 new desks, the Diaspora Investment Desk, which is very important for the country. As you well know, almost every $3 billion comes in informal from the diaspora. We believe that creating a formal channel would actually facilitate a better way of attracting remittances from the diaspora and engage the diaspora in national development. Additionally, we've set up a strategic aftercare service to streamline investor aftercare and encourage investment. And so many of you who are here will get visits from our aftercare. We will your problems and try and bring solutions to them, but we also act as a sounding board for the presidency on policy matters relating to attracting investment. Then we have a revamped monitoring and evaluation and tracking divisions to offer an efficient monitoring of companies and optimize the center's performance. And then we have set up a specific cares delivery unit to track, monitor, and facilitate the achievement of the targets under the cares program. I will skip these 2 and then come to the end. As I did say, we are very keen on ensuring that we achieve the target of a minimum of $3 billion a year from 2020 to 2023, right into 2024, under the CARES program. And the areas that we've identified strategically for promotion are agriculture and agro-processing, energy, because if we are going to industrialize, we need cheap, reliable energy, vehicle assembly and automotive components, manufacturing, and We are pleased to say we are well on track. We also have a great manufacturing template under the 1D1F to ensure that every corner of this country has a manufacturing industry of sorts. Now, can you imagine what that would do for job creation? It means that every corner in each of the 260 districts will create opportunities for job creation for our young people. That would stem the tide of the flow from the urban to the, from the rural to the urban areas that we see every year, but also create opportunity that will lead into a market in West Africa. Tourism and hospitality, because Ghana is naturally endowed with assets that we can monetize in tourism and hospitality. Innovative financial products and services, and Ghana is also setting up to be a regional international financial services center to facilitate capital flows in West Africa, in Ghana, and the continent. And then, of course, transport infrastructure, such that the products that we generate have easy access in and out of Ghana and into the global market. AFCFTA does give us a unique opportunity. And once again, Ghana is the spearhead transformation of the African continent. Africa is very well endowed, but unfortunately we export our raw materials and then import the finished goods out of our raw materials we export. And I believe that the AFCFTA gives us a great impetus to change that whole dynamic. And once again, I would like to say that the inspiration from the president of a Ghana beyond aid resonates loudly on the African continent. For us to actually monetize the assets that we have through partnerships and linkages and create a continent of wealth creation and jobs. By 2050, Africa will be 1/4 of the world's population. It would also still have more than 30% of the world's remaining resources, 60% of the arable land left in the world. And it's now due for us to actually turn that into a real development agenda for the world, not just for Africa. I believe that the AFCFTA for us in Ghana gives us a real good opportunity for our SMEs and SMIs to actually get onto the industrial bandwagon and move beyond where we are. I would like to end here. I believe that you've all seen the numbers. These are real numbers. They've been legitimized, but we look forward to doubling, quadrupling those numbers. In broad discussions with a lot of our compatriots, both globally and outside, they do say that if Ghana is to up its game, it could probably be attracting double-figure FDIs in the future. Thank you very much.
I think he left his nose mask.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for that detailed presentation. Of course, if you have feedback, the organizers of the event will welcome that. Every individual here has placed close to them a card that bears a QR code. You can quickly scan it and then share your feedback with us. We'll really appreciate that. It's also obvious that we cannot have this conversation or the rest of this conversation without hearing from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. At this juncture, I'll call on the Honorable Deputy Minister, Herbert Krapper.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, colleague ministers of state, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Yofi Grant, captains of industry, business leaders, investors and entrepreneurs in Ghana and abroad, members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be part of this all-important investment summit, and I take the opportunity to congratulate the organizers for not only conceptualizing such a brilliant idea, but also taking the steps to implement it year after year. I bring you best wishes from the Honorable Minister of Trade, Honorable Alan Chamatin, who is unable to be here with us today. This year's theme, Maximizing Ghana's Investment Potential, is pertinent for many reasons. And the sub-theme that I've been asked to speak to, Emerging Stronger Together, the role of the Ministry of Trade and Industry in maximizing Ghana's investment potential, makes even more vivid the importance of this summit. Many countries in the world are still grappling with how to contain COVID-19, with several economies currently on a bottom dive. Under the sterling leadership of His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Ghana's story is not exactly the same. When His Excellency the President commenced work in his first term with a program to clean up and strengthen Ghana's financial sector, coupled with an aggressive industrial transformation agenda and the introduction of revolutionary social intervention measures, our visionary president was clearly seen farther ahead than many of his peers. A gathering of minds to discuss Ghana's investment potential and prospects is yet another reminder that our fundamental challenges as a country, youth unemployment, poverty reduction, and inclusive economic growth, continue to hinge on strategic investment in critical sectors of our economy. Increasing strategic investments into our economy is a necessary condition to spur growth, and ensuring the right investment climate to sustain such investments is equally fundamental. The role of the Ministry of Trade and Industry in maximizing Ghana's investment potential cannot be overstated. In line with His Excellency the President's vision, the Ministry of Trade and Industry has a core mandate as a lead policy advisor to government on the trade, industrial, and private sector development, with the responsibility of formulating and implementing policies for the promotion of domestic and international trade and industry. Since 2017, the Ministry has embarked on a 10-point industrial transformation agenda aimed at maximizing, amongst other things, the investment potential of Ghana. They include the National Industrial Revitalization Program, the very popular One District, One Factory program, strategic anchor industries, industrial parks and special economic zones, development of micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises, domestic retail infrastructure enhancement, industrial subcontracting exchange, improving public-private sector dialogue, and business regulatory reforms. The business regulatory reforms which are currently being undertaken by the Ministry are to ensure transparency and stability in the investment climate of our country. The evidence shows that such a climate is a sure way of attracting investment into an economy. There are 7 components of this reform program currently being implemented. First, targeted reform initiatives to ease the way we do business in our country, and it's a coordinated national program to improve Ghana's performance in key indicators and annual ranking on World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. The e-Register of Business Regulations, which is an online inventory that provides businesses with an easily accessible one-stop repository of up-to-date information on all business regulations, laws, directives, procedures, forms, and fees in force in Ghana. The Public Consultation Portal, which is an interactive web portal for centralized public consultation with government institutions on government policies, legal and regulatory reforms. Regulatory impact assessment and ex-post assessment of the impacts of proposed or existing policies or regulations and alternatives to achieving policy objectives. And the rolling regulatory review, an exercise designed to systematically carry out rolling reviews of regulations to eliminate, revise, and simplify business regulations and reduce cost of compliance. And this will also help contribute to the process of updating the e-register on a continuous basis. And finally, the public-private dialogue, a permanent mechanism for structured public-private dialogue which involves regular consultations between government and the private sector. In a few days, the Ministry will be organizing the Maiden Presidential Business Summit with the framework of our public-private dialogue concept. The Ministry of Trade and Industry believes that the full implementation of these reforms, coupled with the complementary efforts of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and other related agencies, will further improve investor confidence in Ghana. The strategic anchor industries, which include an integrated aluminum industry, iron and steel industry, automobile and vehicle assembly, petrochemicals, manufacturing of machines and machine components, and agro-processing, constitute His Excellency the President's vision of creating alternative growth poles to drive his industrialization agenda. The Ministry of Trade and Industry, in taking a lead role to help grow the economy post-COVID, is poised to spearhead and coordinate even more aggressively all 10 anchor industries. The development of industrial parks and special economic zones is an integral component of government's industrialization agenda. To emerge strongly from the havoc of the pandemic and restore the impressive trajectory of foreign direct investment, the ministry has accelerated efforts to build industrial parks and special economic zones across the country. And the process of developing a policy framework, institutional structure, and the regulatory mechanism to support the establishment of these parks has been initiated. The Ministry of Trade and Industry has also established business resource centers across the country to provide relevant business venture information and technical resources to private sector investors. We have also established joint business councils with some African and European countries to provide ministerial level support for driving investment between Ghana and partner countries. And the German-Ghana Business Council, for instance, provided the framework for the establishment of Volkswagen's facility here in Ghana. Under the Ghana COVID-19 Alleviation and Revitalization Enterprises Support, the Ministry of Finance has graciously allocated 282 million Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Trade and Industry to pursue interventions for the revival of an active trade and industry sector. Light manufacturing, agro-processing, import substitution, automotive, export, and pharmaceuticals will be the focus areas of this intervention. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Trade and Industry intends to leverage the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to increase investment into Ghana. We have established a National AFCFTA Coordination Office in Accra and developed for implementation a national plan of action. Currently, enterprise profiling and audits are ongoing with the aim to provide relevant market analysis and operational support to these firms. Enhancing the productive capacity of the private sector and ensuring that the business climate is attractive are a guaranteed prescription for maximizing Ghana's investment potential. And the Ministry of Trade and Industry, under the able leadership of the Honorable Minister, will continue to pursue these even more vigorously. Once again, I congratulate the indefatigable Yofi Grant and his team at the GIPC for organizing this summit and urge all of us to walk all the talk. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krapa, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd kindly like to draw your attention that we are currently joined online by another distinguished audience. We would like to acknowledge their presence and thank them for being with us from start. We'll move to the Honorable Minister of State Finance, that's Charles Edouboahin. He's also going to give us a speech on the sub-theme, Emerging Stronger Together, but on the role of the Ministry of Finance in maximizing Ghana's investment potential. Let's put our hands.
Your Excellency, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, Honorable Minister for Information, Deputy Ministers for Trade and for Finance, Ambassador Sullivan, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, the CEO of GIPC, and the CEO of the Ghana Free Zones Board, directors, heads of public sector agencies and associations, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today. It is good to see so many from industry, government, and the wider investor community here with us today. During today's summit, I believe you all hear much about the government's commitment towards engaging and incentivizing and mobilizing the private sector and investors on a larger scale. Critically, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced emerging economies such as ours to focus on binding the private sector into open and accountable long-term relationships characterized by fair sharing of risk and the transfer of innovative ideas to lay the foundations for a post-COVID recovery. Undoubtedly, leveraging innovative sources of funding has assumed greater significance. Therefore, our focus as a government has been to prioritize the pursuit of public reforms to create a de-risked landscape for private capital seeking rewarding growth investments. In truth, there has indeed been an extraordinary increase in Ghana's FDI flows since the turn of the century. According to the World Bank, our net FDI inflows have grown from approximately $165 million in 2000 to over $3.9 billion by the end of 2019. FDI as a percentage of the gross domestic product has similarly climbed up from an average of 4.2% in the 2000s to 6.5% during the past decade. Indeed, Ghana's average share during the past decade is higher than the sub-Saharan Africa average of 2.3% of GDP, and also notably above such countries as Nigeria, which has GDP, flows of 1.0% of GDP, Tanzania, which has 3.1% of GDP, and Kenya, which has FDI flows of 1.7% of GDP. Despite this, there's still great potential that is unfulfilled. This is true of FDI inflows and the degree to which intellectual capital comes in and can be transferred, particularly between local and foreign firms in the construction subsector. In truth, we are at a critical juncture in our development trajectory, with a burgeoning population growing at a rate of 2.26% annually. It has become even more urgent to crowd in capital into both traditional and non-traditional growth sectors to create an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient economy. FDIs are important because they provide critical private sector funding to complement domestic resource mobilization and debt financing to fund our recovery from the pandemic. According to a report published by Fitch, median public debt in the sub-Saharan Africa region leapt to about 68% in 2020 from 56% in 2019, and is likely to rise even further to 75% in 2022. At the Ministry of Finance, our policy mix to attract FDI flows and hence increase investment potential includes, first and foremost, establishing macroeconomic stability, which I must say I believe we've done very well in the last 4 or 5 years. Improving transparency and access to critical macroeconomic data through regular investors' engagements and roadshows is another very important initiative that provides investors with key information to be able to help them make investment decisions. Strengthening our business, legal, and regulatory frameworks to provide the requisite de-risking of private investment. Supporting GIPC to effectively deliver on its mandate by providing fiscal incentives to prospective investors in priority sectors such as housing, health infrastructure, and manufacturing. Ensuring the availability of long-term investment capital for entrepreneurial ventures, productivity-enhancing investments, and asset creation through the formation of such institutions like the Development Bank. Funding the Ghana 100 billion Ghana Cares program to effectively transition our country towards the realization of a modernized, competitive, and resilient economy. Promoting ease of doing business in Ghana, and providing the requisite financial resources to support education and skills training of the labor force, and complementing external investment inflows with a more domestic revenue mobilization effort. Essentially, to support FDI growth consistently and effectively, we realize that we must provide the proper framework of policies, institutions, and support services that make our firms competitive, provides incentives to invest in skills transfer, and provides an opportunity for investors to realize risk-adjusted returns in Ghana, which are far above the sub-Saharan African average. Given the fragility of the economy, both here and across the world, The essential requirement today is to do everything possible to nurture and secure a robust recovery where our economies emerge stronger from the pandemic. Since the start of the year, we have set the stage for the presentation of the exemptions bill to Parliament, instituted clear and comprehensive programs to address youth unemployment, demonstrated a solid commitment to a strong rebound in economic growth and fiscal consolidation, anchored the budget on debt sustainability, strategically repositioned the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund to support the funding of key infrastructure, stabilized the power sector, and mobilized sufficient funds for the Development Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, the government is accelerating structural transformation through digitalization, industrialization, fiscal consolidation, and the pursuit of enterprise. Over the medium term, we expect to record growth levels in the region of 5%, placing Ghana among some of the fastest growing African economies. We will continue to work hard to ensure macroeconomic stability, improve revenue collection through digitalization and other initiatives, and allocate resources to the growth sectors of the economy to ensure economic expansion, increasing opportunity, and prosperity for all our people. We look forward to working with you all in shaping a Ghana that is truly beyond aid. Thank you very much.
Minister, thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me quickly draw your attention that this event is broadcast live on CNBC, on DSTV, and all their social media handles. Right now, though, before we go for a message from the special guest of honor, that's His Excellency, the President, we have a special presentation by a special artist, Nana Asase. I'll call him up to the stage to give us his presentation.
A soldier, half asleep or fully asleep, is no less than one, fully awake on duty and alert. The only distance between them is a wake-up call. Ours is both a soldier and a giant, a mother of many nations who needs a reminder that the time for duty is at hand. And so to you all, Sanda Zua, Swahili Benvenu Ghana, Akwaba, Miawizo, Ohelebo Atu, welcome to her reawakening. This is that same gathering with collective urgency to be the whistle, the bugle, or the din of the band that calls her to attention. Attention, because the heart of industrialization awaits and needs to be fed with the blood of agriculture through the veins of technology, to get on the feet of prudent fiscal policy so we can give COVID a kick, and then we can feel the pulse of our SMEs through our private-public partnerships. All of this to remedy the challenges of unemployment. Ladies and gentlemen, only then, with a resilient voice of youth, we shall call for foreign direct investments to meet the strength of local industries so that we can all hand over the baton of a better Ghana beyond aid to the capable hands of the future. Pay attention, for this message might be quite short. I hereby declare that her sleep is over and Ghana, our soldier mother giant, is reawakening. And so let us all spark up. Let us call the tune and she will lead Africa's march into the future. But fellow Ghanaians, all of this will rest on the stable neck of an enabling socio-political environment with the head of an able leader. And I dare add that he whom the cup fits, let him wear it. His name remains His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. Me and Nana, Nsweja, we are Nana Penny. Nana Penny, away me pay. Would you shabo name me drew ya? Ye knew show, Sunuku Krukwa, Etata, Enche, Obetias Bijam. And so, Africa, world, I summon you to the center to hear the capable head resting on the enabling socio-economic environment of Ghana, ready, resilient, sparking up so that we can take our rightful places. And I mean too, dear, so the world is ready. Why a crowd?
Shall we be on our feet, ladies and gentlemen?
Minister for Information, Minister of State of the Ministry of Finance, the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, the Deputy Minister for Finance, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Free Zones Authority, members of the business and investment community, members of the diplomatic corps, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. I applaud the Ghana Investment Promotion Center under the leadership of its hard-working Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Yufi Grant, for initiating this summit, which is aimed at stimulating one of the most important conversations we should be having in this country, that is making registered investments real on the ground in Ghana. When I assumed office in January 2017, I encouraged all of us to take it upon ourselves to help government build a business-friendly economy that will enable our nation get to the stage where the exploitation of the opportunities that are available to us will help us build an optimistic, self-confident, self-reliant, and prosperous nation, a Ghana beyond aid. Towards realizing this vision, the government has made deliberate efforts in determining the investment priorities of our country and taken steps to mobilize the necessary resources for the growth of these priority areas. This is because we want to help transform Ghana from being a mere producer and exporter of raw materials to a value-added industrialized economy that will provide opportunities, jobs, and prosperity for all Ghanaians, thereby creating a wiser nation that is a wealthy, inclusive, sustainable, empowered, and resilient one. Government since 2017 has put in place measures needed to reduce the cost of doing business, improve the business environment, and made the Ghanaian economy not only one of the most business-friendly economies in Africa, but also one of the fastest growing economies in the world between 2017 and 2020, averaging 7% GDP annual rates of growth, up from the 3.4% rate we inherited in 2016. Indeed, with the economies of many countries around the world in recession in 2020, having recorded negative growth largely as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ghana's economy was one of the very few that still managed to record a positive GDP growth, that is 0.1% in 2020, albeit significantly reduced from the average levels of 7% per annum that we had become accustomed to in 2017, 2018, and 2019. In spite of the ravages of the pandemic, we are working to grow the economy at a much faster rate this year, our target being a 5% GDP growth rate, which will enhance the prospects of a win-win environment for both private sector and country, and create an environment where companies do not just survive, but actually thrive. In the first quarter of this year, the GDP of the economy grew at 3.1%. In the second, at 8.9%. Government has a blueprint for the revitalization of the Ghanaian economy from the effects of COVID-19. We have identified the relevant sectors of the economy requiring the needed investment that will help accelerate the rebound and growth of the Ghanaian economy, as was witnessed in the immediate years before the pandemic struck. We call it the Ghana Cares or Bantampa program. The 100 billion CD program will require some 30 billion CDs of funding from government and 70 billion CDs from the private sector. The program focuses on injecting substantial investments into key sectors of our economy, such as agriculture, agro-processing, manufacturing, healthcare, housing, and infrastructural development. In seeking to mobilize the 70 billion from the private sector, it's become even more important to examine also how foreign direct investments are onboarded into the economy of Ghana. So it is critical that this maiden edition of Spark Up be dedicated to exploring ways of improving the turnaround times and the efficiency with which potential investments are integrated into the Ghanaian economy. The Ghana Investment Promotion Center has been at the forefront of hand-holding potential investors and working to support their establishment in the Ghanaian economy. Let me thus take this opportunity to congratulate the for effectively discharging its mandate and promoting vigorously the considerable investments and business opportunities that exist in Ghana, estimated at some 12 billion United States dollars in foreign direct investments from 2017 to 2020. Whilst global FDI declined by some 42% in 2020, in the midst of COVID-19, FDI inflow recorded by Ghana through the GIPC amounted to some 2.65 billion United States dollars, which bucked the global trend, representing a significant increase over the 2019 FDI value. In keeping up with the importance of public-private dialogues as recommended by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, I'm charging GIPC to use the summit as a platform for open, frank, and solution-oriented engagements between investors, regulators, and investment facilitators. I'm hopeful that it will afford the facilitator agencies, regulators, and the relevant public officials on one side opportunity to engage directly with investors and potential investors on the other, to explore how the various bottlenecks that frustrate and slow down potential investments can be quickly unlocked. For a smooth and quick establishment of all these registered investments to complement the efforts of government in engineering growth and the creation of jobs for our people. The ongoing review of the GNP Law, Act 865, and the institutional reforms, such as retooling, focusing the center's operations through the institution of the Diaspora Investment Desk and the CARES Delivery Unit, will be crucial in implementing the outcomes of this summit. They will strengthen GIPC to continue to play a lead role in assisting government to mobilize private sector complementary investments for the resurgence of the Ghanaian economy. Let me commend the collaborating organizations for their roles in this project. The Ministry of Information for showcasing this all-important national conversation. The Ministry of Trade and Industry for articulating the relevant policy direction for attracting the most appropriate investments that Ghana requires at this point in time. And the Ministry for Finance for helping to engender the enabling environment that has made Ghana an attractive investment destination. As host country of the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, now is the time for the Black Star to spark up and bring in the needed investments to accelerate the transformation of the Ghanaian economy, and by extension the African one, through the active participation of the private sector in the economic development of our country and continent. I wish you fruitful deliberations, and may God bless us all in our homeland Ghana and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
Would like to take a group photo of VIPs, please. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. That's the VIPs in a photo with His Excellency the President. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for them. Yes, before I invite Madame Kokwe for the national anthem, I would kindly like to show appreciation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They are a key partner in this program, and we are grateful to them. Let's hear Madame Kokwe for the national anthem.
Strong, bold
Thank you very much. Let's stay on our feet as the President, His Excellency, takes leave of us. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we can take a cocoa break or a coffee break while the President takes leave, and then we'll have the first panel session, which is the investment journey in Ghana.
All right, so that was the opening ceremony for Spark Up there. It's happening live at the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel. And those you heard the president give his speech. He was the final speaker there. Yofi Grant, being the CEO of GIPC, opened the event. And then, of course, Herbert Crapper as Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. And then, of course, the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Charles Dubois, also spoke there as well. Well, thank you. Keep watching City TV.